So let's get started.
Yeah, I want to know more about the foundation of like that big push to get to pass and take that FE, the whole journey of studying it, and then like again that big long-term big picture goal of the PE.
Well, everyone knows that FE, or actually PE, is your ultimate goal as an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
Getting that PE license is a prestigious number one. And number two, more importantly, is you're being recognized as a professional.
Mm-hmm.
So when someone is reviewing your work and you'll look at your title and see PE, they trust you more than someone has no title or EIT, engineer in training,
Right.
or EI. So the FE is not really what you're looking for, but it's kind of like a small, quick destination that you need to kind of like pass, and then you go to the ultimate destination, which is the P.
Mm-hmm.
As a tutor and as a professor, I've been involved heavily on the FE in school.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of the training and prep courses at University of Colorado Denver and Metro State University for FE. And I was not expecting that I will make a nice big impact on that. So I decided to say, just let's take it gradually and teach people some of the fundamentals. But people, like the way things kind of laid down and outlined the way I want it to be,
Mm-hmm.
and came up with an idea, say, why not having a program teach people what is FE, what is PE? And then I started doing that, and people like, why you're not giving us an example of the questions that's going to be on the PE or the FE? So I went with my team, the help of the team, and we created a kind of like a booklet. You can hear me. A booklet with contains and consists of almost 100 questions with a very with very rigorous and detailed solution. Step by step, telling you where to find it from the manual, the handbook, and why other options are wrong, why the solution that we're selecting is the correct one, what you could do, silly mistakes or minor mistakes that can lead you to select B instead of C. So these things, and we're in the middle of the second version, and actually we're also in the middle of doing something the same with the PE. So the PE is your final destination, so that you need to get into FE, get it done, pass that 6 hours test, 2.91 or 2 minutes per each question, 110 problems, and then don't feel like the FE is your ultimate goal. I know it's kind of sort of hectic and awkward to say, oh, I need to get another test, but that, I promise, is going to be your last test. Unless you really want to go with the SE, which, obviously you don't really need. So the PE is same philosophy, except the PE has two kind of major components. One is called the breadth, and one is called the depth. The breadth is 4 hours test, and the depth is 4 hours test as well. The breadth is kind of similar to the FE, and that's why I'm saying focus on the FE heavily, because you could reduce a lot of the nitty-gritty, topics here and there, especially if you're not involved in so many water, resources stuff. Like for example, for me, I'm a structural. When I see transportation and water, I was like, it's been a while. But since I did the FE and I understand what I'm doing for the FE and I'm teaching it, I have easy kind of transition zone to the PE breadth. But then you get into the depth, you select your thing, thermal and fluid, HVAC, whatever, machine or whatever for PE, for mechanical. For us, like structural, GTech, whatever it may be, you could pick anything, and they're going to test you 40 questions on those, which I always say, if you get into the breadth, please do, as much as possible practice problems. Get 40 out of 40, because that's going to help you a lot towards the depth. Depth is
Yeah.
whole different animal. Especially for the structural, we're talking about 12 manuals, 11 manuals, all these manuals, they can ask you anything, with probably just reading one of the statement, and that would be the answer. But then you're going to look at the problems, like what is the minimum, whatever spacing or reinforcement ratios, and you start thinking and pulling all these equations, but it could be one single line in the manual. So it's pretty tricky. That's why do really good on the breadth. It helps you a lot, from my experience with PE and FE. If you do well on the breadth, you're pretty in good shape for the depth. Even if you messed up here and there, you don't need to get 100%. You don't need to get 90. You just need that green, thing with P, the pass.
Right. Yeah, it's not about who got the highest score.
Exactly. Yeah. And
because I remember when I was in undergrad, okay, this is like back in 2011. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, was when I started undergrad. But I remember back or no, that's when I finished. So, oh yeah, I'm older than that. So 2007 to 2011. I remember when they talked about PE all the time, they talked about the fundamentals exam and they said you have to take your fundamentals exam. And then they said you had to do a 4-year apprenticeship under somebody with a PE.
Yep.
Then I guess that's when you would take, and then they had to give a letter of recommendation for you to get your PE. Similar to like a PhD, how you have to have your committee of people with PhDs approve you getting a PhD. So that was my understanding of the PE.
You're right on the PE, but the FE, you take it right away. It doesn't require anything.
It doesn't require anything, yes. But the PE, you have to do the 4 years apprenticeship, don't you?
Not anymore.
So that is waived now.
Yes. So yeah, it's waived, but it's also tricky because the PE, it's not only NCS, it's state.
Okay.
The FE is only NCS. So you don't have to worry about any state. You could just right away schedule an FE exam and then go take it. Nobody's gonna give you, a grief. PE, you gotta say, I want to take California, I want to take Colorado, I want to take the PE of, Wisconsin, whatever it may be.
Okay.
So I think PE is very, very important for not only for practice. When you go back to, let's say, 5 years later, you want to go back to teaching.
Yeah.
And you want to like be a professor or something. When they know that you have PE, they're gonna respect you more.
Right. I know as far as the title and the respect and those different things and the bracket of money and all that. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And like when you go and say, I have PhD and PE, my salary cannot be like PhD or like someone is PE. My salary, at least, my on my end, if I pass this test, I will get a raise 10,000 to 15,000.
That's awesome.
Which is not bad, right?
No, that's wonderful. That's awesome.
Overall, obviously the Legend, we do help with FE and PE, and it's a matter of fact, it's kind of like one of my strongest suit right now is becoming,